Hey guys, today we're going to do a basic tune-up on our, this is a Badboy Maverick. It is a Kawasaki engine. So we're just going to do a basic tune-up on the engine. This is like a maintenance thing. We do it once a year, every year, no matter how many hours we put on it, which usually runs around, maybe we put 250 hours a year. I'm not really sure, but somewhere in that ballpark. Anyway, just a basic tune-up. We're going to do spark plugs. We're going to do air cleaner. We did oil, that's in a separate video. If you want to see that, I'll show you. And we're going to do a fuel filter, and we're just going to clean the engine off and make sure that everything is ready to go for the season. This is a basic beginner kind of guide, so like if you already know this stuff, this video is probably not for you. But if you're a beginner, I'm going to go over it step by step so you know exactly what to do, how to do it, and what not to do. All right, let's check it out. Okay, here it is. This is our Badboy Maverick. This is a 60-inch. It's got the Kawasaki FS730. Excellent engine. And let me tell you, we are professional landscapers. We use this machine commercially, and they last a really long time if you just give them a little bit of love. You keep them clean and just do the basic maintenance, and that's what we're going to cover today. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, here is what you need to do this basic tune-up. You have your oil filter. Like I said, that's in a separate video. So look in the end screen for the oil section, and you can see it there. Here is your new air filter with the pre-filter, comes with it. Kawasaki fuel filter, and NGK plugs. That is all you need to service your machine. So let's get on to first step and get going. I always like to start by cleaning the machine off. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have compressed air, it's fabulous. You get a good blowgun in there and just get all the debris out of the way. Makes it a lot easier because somehow, some way, it always gets in the way when you're working in there. So clean it off really good. Here we go. We're going to pull the plug out, and I'll show you what it looks like when we pull it out, and then we'll compare the other plug. But this is how we get started. And, you know, I'm getting to it. Sometimes you got to be a little patient with these. They have a lot of threads. Okay, so as I was showing you there, you know, check your plugs. You want to check the burn factor here. You want to make sure that they're even on both plugs. We'll obviously do that when we pull the other plug out. But number one is, you know, the numbers are on there. You'll all of that will be in the description, the exact plugs. But, you know, put them next to each other. Make sure they're the same because you don't want to have that mistake. Now, you should not have to gap your plugs, but I believe for the Kawasaki, it's a 30 thousandths. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, so you can see I made a little mark on there, so I know that's 30 thousandths. And yeah, we just go there, boom, nice, double check. But be very careful, especially with these plugs. Sometimes the contact, I'm sorry, I'm not showing you it, here you go. Sometimes the contact can be kind of fragile, you don't want to break it, so definitely don't force it. Most of them come pre-gapped, like I said, you shouldn't have to worry about that. Now, the next step is a preference. Some people swear by this. Some people say it's not necessary. I don't usually do it on the lawnmower engines. On the car engines, I do, but this is anti-seize. You just put a little bit of this on your threads for your plug, and that way the plug won't freeze up, or if it gets water in there. A lot of times people keep their equipment outside, and it can get rained on a lot and stuff. So it does not hurt to put some anti-seize around the threads. Obviously, you'll do this while the plug is out, and you could just do it just like that. You just run it around, put that on there. So now you're gapped, got a little anti-seize. You're ready to install this plug back in. Let's go get it done. Okay, so next important step is we're going to put this in here and make sure there's no debris down there, which we already blew it out by hand. Do not use the wrench. Make sure the plug threads in And I'm talking, do not force it. Do not cross thread it, because it's aluminum and it's just be a nightmare if you do that. So you just use, it should turn in real easy with 2 fingers and thread the plug in. Don't use any power tools on spark plugs. Just an easy socket and a wrench. Like I said, you twist this thing pretty much all the way in. If it's giving you a hard time, you can kind of just shake it. It'll go in. Standard spark plug. This is a 13/16 deep socket. The plug socket. The only difference between that and a regular socket is a rubber boot in there that holds the spark plug, especially when it comes out. Make sure you're in the right position. Get it on there. Okay. Now, I'm not one of those people that torques things, so I just kind of know. It's pretty common sense here. As you're turning it, you're going to feel it snug up. Once it snugs up, you're just going to give it a little bit of a push like that. Done. Do not over tighten the plug. And see, that's the little rubber boot that shouldn't come out, but this is an older socket, so that just stays in there. Now, real quick, all right, now here's another step that this is above and beyond. You do not have to do this, but it doesn't hurt, especially if your machine is outside or is in really damp places. It's just dielectric grease. You take a little bit of this and put it on the, you can either put it on the end of the spark plug, not this part that goes in the engine, the outer part right here, or just right on the end, or you can put it a little bit in the boot. Now, if you can see that, you can just put some right there, just like that, in the boot. And that just assures that there's not going to be any moisture and make sure that you get a good spark, good connection, I should say. Now, once your plug is in there tight, you're going to put your boot back on. Make sure it clicks. You'll feel it. It'll just kind of click. And there you go. That's one side done. Now we're going to repeat the same exact procedure on the other side. Like I said on the other side, do not over tighten the spark plug, but I'll tell you what I see a lot of people make the mistake of is they do not tighten the spark plug enough. And sometimes they will vibrate out and you can lose compression there. The plug can actually come out, which will cause a problem, obviously. If it's not in there good, you can lose compression, might not run right. So you want to make sure the plug is in there tight enough. Now, some spark plugs have a compression gasket. This is a compression gasket. You see that little gasket there? It's kind of a one-time thing. So when you screw the plug in, that gasket will press down. And that's why I said when you get the plug in and you go to tighten it, you kind of tighten it all the way in, and then you give it that one little push and you'll feel it stop. And when it stops, that means you've compressed that little gasket right there. And that's how a compression gasket works. All right, so now that we have both plugs out, you just want to check them and see, do they look even? Is one soaking wet? Is one dry? That's going to tell you if your engine's burning correctly. These look pretty uniform, as you can see. The burn looks like everything's good here. We make sure we got the right plugs. So just a visual check right there will save you a lot of headache, or let you know if there is potentially a problem. All right, and again, same deal. We're gonna pull this out. We're gonna give it a real quick check. Do not force this, like I said before. Nice and easy. You don't wanna break the electrode on there. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use a little anti-seize. And I'm sure I mentioned it, but you go in the description and I will have all of these products in there, plus the tools that you need to do this job have the exact numbers on there and the links for you to click on. The anti-seize just gets everywhere. It's inevitable. All right, now we're going to install the second plug. Again, same thing. Make sure everything's clean. I don't know if you can see like how I put on the anti-seize. There's none on the electrode. We don't want anything there. And when I was talking about putting the dielectric grease, this is the part you want it on, or you just put it on the boot and it'll go right onto there. I'm going to go in here. Don't mind my head in the way. And like I said, just real easy. Do not force it, and gosh, don't cross thread the spark plug, because you can take a very simple job like this and create a disaster because you were either impatient or you cross threaded the plug. You just don't want to do that. All right, it's snug. Let's get our 13/16 spark plug socket in here again. I'm going to try to get this closer so you can understand what I mean by tightening the socket. All right, I tried to get that closer. So now I hand tightened it. So now watch, we're going to just turn the socket. Look at one finger, nice and easy. You'll feel it start to tighten up a little bit, little tension on there. Once you feel that tension, just give it a little snug. And that's it. You'll feel it, like it just stops. It gets a little tight, and that's when you're compressing that compression gasket. And that's it. Do not force it any more than that. It does not have to be crazy, but you also want to make sure it's tight enough. All right, let's get our dielectric grease here. I hope you can see this. That's all you need is just a little bit like that. What's the saying? A dab will do you. There you go. And then you're going to push the boot back on. You'll hear it pop. I don't know if you heard that, but it'll like click in, and that way you know that's it. There you go. 2 spark plugs installed properly. Okay, next step, we're going to do the air cleaner. Now this is the FS, means this is just basically the FS and the FX. The air cleaner. It's the same 730 engine, it's just the air cleaner. The other has a barrel type, which is a heavy duty type. We have that on our other machine. So you pop these 2 off, bring this off. See how it's a little dirty, so you want to wipe this out. You know, clean, I said it in all my videos, the cleaner the machine is, the better it's going to be, it's going to run. The cleaner it is, the easier it is to maintain, and the easier it is to notice that you have a problem or you don't have a problem. This is fairly clean, but we're going to go ahead and replace this with a new filter because we have one. If you are fortunate enough to have compressed air is great when you're working on these things because you want to keep everything clean. Let me pull the camera down and show you something that's really important. So these are air-cooled engines. You see those little fins in there? So what happens is when people don't clean the machines out, those fins get full of dust, or maybe you get a little grease and then the dust sticks to the grease. Those are your cylinder head. The air goes through those, which cools your engine. Because if these engines overheat, that's the death of them. And the same thing, you'll see on the front side of the block, all of those things are meant to keep the engine cool and dissipate the heat. So you want to make sure that everything is clean, and that's what I mean about being clean. Okay, now back to what I was rambling about. If you're fortunate enough to have compressed air, it is great because you get in there and you can clean all of those areas out that grass will build up in. Now, a lot of people ask, can you just blow out the air filter instead of replacing it? So yes and no, okay? We could pull this pre-filter off. It's just foam. You can blow it out if you want. If the filter still looks fairly clean, go ahead and blow it out. You know, they're not that expensive to replace, but you should replace them I'm not condoning that blowing them out because we do it all the time. But to do it the right way, replace the filter. Here goes the new one. Like I said, in the description, all of the links for these are in there. These are really affordable. They're not expensive. Really easy to change. Watch. Just pop it in. This has a quick change clamp on it, just like that. Look at that. Beautiful. You ever tried to breathe when your nose is stuffy? Well, imagine how your engine feels. So put a new filter in there. Make sure that it's good to go. All right, now I'm going to reinstall the cover. I blew this off, but this dust is kind of sticky, so let's just clean it off with a rag here. It's a little early in the year. We haven't turned the outside water on yet, so otherwise you can clean this off with a hose, which is great. Like I said, the cleaner the better. Make sure there's no major debris in there. And it looks fancy. See? Nice. Put it back in. These are just one twist lock, so I think they go this way. Put them down. You just put a little pressure. You lock those two. Done. Brand new air cleaner. All right, guys. Last but not least, we're going to do the fuel filter. Okay. Now this is from the tank. Goes this way, and this engine has a little fuel pump over here. So 2 clamps. We're going to take this out. I have a pair of ice rings made with a little rubber boot on them, so we don't destroy the hose. But all you have to do is kind of just clamp off. Let me do it this way so it's out of my way. We just want to clamp off this hose like that. You're still going to get a drop or two of gas. It's always better to just put a rag underneath, or if you can get a little bucket under there or something. You shouldn't leak too much fuel. And then you just need a standard pair of pliers, and you're going to pop the clamps off here. Just move that way. Same thing here. We're going to move that forward. Now the best thing to do is kind of twist it first. Sometimes you can use the plier. Twist the hose so it moves there. And then it should be easier to get it off. I'm trying to be careful with this because if you pull it too hard, then it flings and then the gas flies all over the place. So make sure you have safety glasses on or gloves. Let me get a pair of gloves. Hang on. Everyone laughs at me with my gloves. I've smashed my knuckles 10 million times working on stuff that after a while you just get tired of it. So it's coming off. Well, that looked a lot harder than it actually was. Okay. And then there you go. Like I said, there's a little bit of gas. It's not that bad. These are Kawasaki filters. You'll see there's an arrow. I don't know if you can see the arrow. It tells you which way it flows. So that would mean coming from the gas tank going to the engine would be the direction the arrow, the flow goes. So just make sure you have it going, see, not this way. You want it to go this way. So in this way, out that way. Just in case you were wondering. You can put a little drop of WD-40 on these lines if they don't go back in easily. This one's not too bad, so we're just gonna push it back in. I didn't need any, but you can if you want to or need to. Now, let's put our clamps back on. All you do is slide them up, just like that. Same thing here, just slide them up, just like that. New fuel filter. Make sure your hose is out of the way. Everything looks good, clean, and there you go. Okay guys, there it is. you've got your plugs in, you've got them installed properly, you got a new air cleaner. Like I said, the oil and the oil filter is a separate video, so look in the end screen for that. I'll have it on there as the first one. And you have your replacement fuel filter. Everything's clean. You're gonna be good to go. You know, now just really quick, when you do stuff like this, I mentioned in a lot of my videos, while you're in here, take a look. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a dealer or someone who services your equipment that looks out for things, that's great. But when you're in here, just take a look. You know, here's your cables. Is everything good? Is it starting to wear out? Check your battery cables. Are they corroded? Is there any stuff on there? Make sure they're good. Make sure they're secured. Make sure your batteries, see that? Like the battery is a little bit loose. We should probably tie that up. You know, make sure everything's good and clean. And like I said, you got these like wiring harness things down here. Make sure it's blown out. These down here, I don't know if you can see through there. Those are the fans for your hydros. Make sure there's no debris in there. The fans aren't broken. Just keep an eye on stuff, because if you take just a little bit of time to make sure everything is good, you won't have the breakdowns or the problems. So that's that. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope this video helped. Like I said, look in the end screens for the other maintenance videos, because we do all our own maintenance here. So we have videos pretty much on everything that you can imagine. Just check it out. And in the description below, I have all the links for the products and tools and everything else that you might need to do the job. But as far as DIY, you can definitely do this job. Peace. Thanks, everybody.